We back. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Watch Your Mouth Reviews. This is your boy James, where I am here to give my honest review while trying to wash my mouth. And it's not gonna happen this video, but that's all right. We'll live to fight another day. I want to say a happy Easter, happy 420, whatever you celebrate. Just be happy. Joining me as always is my co-host, Mrs. Beth. Y'all say what's up to her.
Hi, everybody. Happy Resurrection Day. Happy 420 to those who partake, and I'm happy to be here. Like, share, and subscribe.
I am happy to have you here. And yes, as she said, like, comment, and subscribe. And while you're subscribing to us, please also play Shana's channels because she has two. She has her current channel and also her backup channel. Which, if Shana does pop in here, I need to ask her where she is with monetization. And it doesn't matter. Still subscribe and show my girl some love because it is not easy being here on this YouTube streets, especially when you know you deserve a good paycheck. So honestly, subscribe to her channel. Make sure she gets that love and gets everything she deserves because Shana looks out for us all the time. So make sure you guys do me a solid and pay my girl some respect and subscribe. Shani is here. She is first as always, and we appreciate you nonetheless. My other co-host, we got to get into this mess and this foolishness because this is Love and Marriage Detroit, Season 2, Episode 8, Podcast Pop-Off. And I'm going to tell you like this, everybody equally got on my nerves. So overall, I'm going to tell y'all now, nobody's going to get spared in this video. Just saying. Uh-oh, still cooking that good food. I know, Shani saved me a plate. So anywho, y'all, let's get into it. So Brandon and Christina, we start off the episode with them. They're at Brandon's mom's house. She's cooking dinner for them. She has the babies, and because Brandon and Christina need to spend some alone time. He just got back in the house, so they need to get some mommy and daddy time alone without the kids. So Granny got the babies. So they begin talking. They sit at the dinner table and they talk about Christina's career. She took the mother-in-law's advice and did focus on her. So now she's starting off her music career. She's singing and everything. And Brandon's going to be coaching her because this is what he does. He does artist development. So he's going to be helping Christina along the way. And Christina's nervous because, it's a different time. She is nervous of what she's going to be like and everything. And with Brandon coaching her, it shouldn't nothing go wrong, right? And the other thing to talk about is, the marriage. That they're glad he's back in the house. And she asked the mother-in-law for, advice. Like, what would you advise, now that he's back in the house? Because you went through a divorce and you were married to his dad and everything. And, the mama is strong, saying that Brandon's a lot like his father. And I need to know what that is like. Because I hate when parents paint a picture, but it's not clear. So I needed to know what this, because she said this before. And I'm like, well, what was his daddy like? Like, what's going on here? And mind you, the first beginning of the season, Brandon said clearly that he wasn't intended to marry Christina. He was just trying to be out there, and it was just something different about her. And so when he said that, I didn't like that because to me, it seems like you married her on the whim that you were making the right decision. And that's not really that cool because marriage is something you need to go into with the intention that you're going to be into it. You're going to always show up. So for you to have this realization after she didn't put your ass out that you needed to show up as a better husband, that's a problem because somewhere down the line, you're going to fall again. So I'm going to need you to really change your wordings and then be about your actions better, Brandon. How did you feel about this scene, Mrs. Best?
His mom, she doesn't mean to, but she enables him and his behavior. If he's like his daddy, then let him be like his daddy. Let his daddy watch them kids if he's living and all of that. But I don't know. I prefer this couple to be working it out off camera in therapy. I don't really care to see them discuss or work things through. It's just too much. I think couples like this give marriage a bad name. I also think it should be an example to women. Don't just give it up because someone, don't just trust that someone wants to marry you, especially when you holding your boundaries down as it relates to not having sex before marriage or being celibate until marriage if you Bambi from Love and Hip Hop. Like, if they suddenly want to marry you because they're not getting anything, you're gonna. I feel like Christina should have expected these problems from Brandon. I don't know. I don't like their relationship. She would be more likable if she would like stand up and leave him. In my opinion, it seems like she just doesn't have the confidence or any of that. So
I
yeah.
feel like, in with her being a PK kid, I feel like there's also this allegiance to always want to work it out because you know how they believe, marriage is forever. You have problems, work it out. Divorce is not an option, kind of the situation. And I'm kind of like this. Like I tell y'all all the time, the operative of marriage is to give it the college effort. There are going to be hard times, there are going to be great times, there are going to be times you succeed, and there's going to be times that you failed. It's just that's just the way of life. You're supposed to give it the college effort, but you're not supposed to stay in something just because your beliefs of life, because life can change and beliefs are supposed to alter. So I just feel like for me, I hate when people have that mindset because I'm gonna keep it rich. Brandon ain't shit. He's not. I'm sorry. And I know a lot of people want to say, well, he looks like he's changing all this. I feel like in men like him, old habits die hard. And I think he's doing a good job showing up on camera to make sure we don't see the flaws, but I believe they're still pretty much there. That's how I feel. So I want her to continue to work on herself, but I want it to not always include him, if that makes sense. Like I want it to kind of be like a where she's focused on her in a space where it doesn't involve him as much. Does that sound wrong, Mrs. Best?
No, but she's not going to do it. I think part of the reason he's worked on the marriage to get back is because of the show.
Mm.
I don't think he actually wants to be married.
That's a good outlook on it because to me it does because there's something about the energy that I see with him where it's like it's performative. It's not really given genuine. I'm trying to fix my marriage. I'm trying to be in the house with my children. It's giving performative because you're about to be on camera again. That's what it's giving me. But I could be wrong, and I don't really care one way or the other because I don't like them too. I mean, I like Christina this season because I don't feel like she's the problem this time. But I don't. Yeah, I can. I don't like Brandon. I don't like none of these men. Really, to be honest with you. I Bravo is okay with me, but the rest of them not. Kobe. So we over at Kobe. Kobe is doing a photo shoot, and I'm gonna say this, y'all, and I'm gonna try to be nice, but Kobe is stiff as hell. When she was doing that photo shoot, she couldn't even smile right, and it was like you're trying to do a partnership with Sam's Club, trying to get on her partner list, and you can't even. Okay, but I'm hearing she does really well with Brandon Bassett. I hear she does really well. But looking at this photo shoot, maybe because she's pregnant, maybe that's what it is. Because she doesn't, she's having a hard time with this pregnancy, so maybe that's what it is. But she just was stiff. I just was looking at that like if I was
That
Sam
lady
Smith,
is not having a hard time with her pregnancy. There are women going through pregnancy complications. That lady got a healthy baby in her body. She just don't want to be pregnant. And if she didn't want to be pregnant, then she should have been on birth control. Amen.
damn, this is
It's true. I'm sick
yeah.
of her.
But she has Dr. Latoya, aka Dr. Minnie Mouse, at the photo shoot, and Dr. Minnie Mouse just said that she is, wanting to make sure she supports Kobe. She knows she's going through a difficult time and she wants to make sure she show up. And I'm just like, ma'am, where are your kids? You just said you wanted to show up for them. So speaking of the kids, she mentions them. She's just saying that she's having a real hard time, connecting with her children because she's always busy, always, trying to make sure things are taken care of, where she's coming off like the hard ass. And they show snippets of her being hard on her children. So she's kind of at a point where she doesn't know if she should take a break from her career or scale it back some so she is home more. But she feels like if she's home more, then maybe nobody will really notice that she's there. She feels like she has her daughter wrapped around her finger. Her daughter is just kind of like the, you know, ambiance of her being, that present parent, but the boys are kind of just not really giving her that same attention. And, she begins to start tearing up because it hurts her. But I feel like this. I feel like boys are going to be like that because they're trying to figure out, their body hormones and everything like that. So, and it's kind of uncomfortable to bring her around your mother. So I think she needs to live. And for her being a doctor, you would think she would understand that. Like, your boys are going through certain things they probably don't want you to know about, and it's not intentional. And I want her to have this outlook of they'll come back around to you as long as you're open. Because that always happens. Boys go through their little spouts, but they always center it back to mama at the end of the day. So I want her to stop having this guilt and shame about her not really being present when it's just, they're teenagers. They're trying to understand themselves. It's not that big of a deal. Mrs. Best, how do you feel about Dr. Minnie Mouse and her little inkling?
What's your husband doing that you have to work so much? Like, I mean, I get that the field of work that she's in makes her busy. I understand the mom guilt and stuff, but honestly, being the disciplinarian for your kids, if you're not going overboard with it and are within reason, is a good thing. They're going to look to Anthony as just someone for a good time, but when they need guidance and advice, they're probably going to look towards her. She doesn't see it now, but that's probably what it is.
I think the reason why she doesn't see it is because I think Anthony makes it difficult for it to be seen in that way. And I'm going to get more into this, later on. But I do feel like Anthony makes it difficult because to me, he gives me that. I'm not necessarily saying he poisons the kids' minds about their mother, but I think he makes it evident. And I said this last week. I think he makes it evident that Dr. Latoya is so busy that her time is more prioritized towards her business and not her children. He gives me that messiness, like he really does. And what he'll say to, Valde's point was, I'm just being real. That's what it is, right? Because it's not wrong. And I feel like men like Anthony are dangerous. Men like Anthony are dangerous. And I feel like I don't know what she sees. It's one of two things. Either she's just like him, and I'm more towards leaning toward that, or he put on a good representative when they met and then showed until after they got married. It's one of the two. Because I just can't see it. I don't know. Miss Bess, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like Anthony does like a sabotage of the mom situation?
Anthony is not for women. Anthony probably is upset that he's not a woman and therefore he is not for women. Um, what's her name? Dr. Minnie Mouse. What's her actual name?
Dr. Latoya.
Whatever the hell, Dr. Thompson. I don't know, it just seems like she's insecure even outside of her marriage and then married somebody, and that probably didn't help with her lack of security, if that makes sense. Um, it's- but I feel like she speaks on the kids as a shield for other stuff. Like it really does seem like she wants to speak on the marriage. I think she wants to say more that she's not saying. Because I can imagine being married to somebody like him. Like he seems like the type to compete instead of support, if that makes sense.
I do see that with him as well. It definitely gives, he wants to be on top and he doesn't care who he sabotages down the line to get there, even at the expense of his own wife. And we saw that season one. So
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
imagine, yeah, that is definitely a dynamic. Because to me, I feel like she's the breadwinner. I don't care what
She
nobody says.
is the breadwinner. What he's doing doesn't produce income. If it did, he would behave a little bit better.
So all of that at the end, when he was telling Brandon Christina, which we'll get to, that he spent 250,000
Of
on.
her money. We saw her face when he was trying to act like he funded her starting her wine company. She's like, okay, like I'm gonna let you have this on camera type face, but we know what's good.
I forgot about that.
I didn't forget.
I forgot that's the conversation because I don't because y'all I just this show is just, it's crazy, it's crazy. But yeah, I definitely feel like she's being way too hard on herself. Like if anything, Dr. Latoya, I'm gonna call you Dr. Latoya for now. You won't be Dr. Minnie Mouse in a minute, but Dr. Latoya, I feel like the answers really are right in front of you, and I think you're trying to look around them. I really think you're trying to look
Yeah.
around the issue versus really looking at what it really is. And I hope when you look back on TV to see your husband, how he treats you and what it looks like, I hope you start putting two and two together. I
Mhm.
really do. Because the answers is right in front of your face. I just think you look around them because you don't want that to be the answer.
Yep.
So that's all I'm going to say about that. We then have another scene with Brandon, and we saw a lot of Brandon and Christina this episode. Brandon and Christina, Christina is doing a vocal boot camp, and she's confused on why she's even there. Brandon says that it's a way for her to get over the anxiety of stage performances by being in a bunch of room with people doing the same vocal training with you. I don't agree with that, but it is what it is. He's the professional. I'm not. And Christina also says that she just wants to put out music. She doesn't want to really be a performer. And Brandon wants her to do the full kibosh, performing, making appearances, doing all of the things, promoting this music. Because I do agree that there needs to be some balance because the money doesn't really come in through all avenues of music. Sometimes people get the most money from their endorsements and also performing. It doesn't really come through the accolades of you putting out the music, unfortunately. So I kind of agree with him. I do think that she does need to do it all. Mrs. Best, how did you feel about that?
Exactly the same. Your money, usually the streams, like my husband gets pretty decent streams with his music, and they pay like most of these streaming apps like a couple cents for a stream. Like every couple 100,000 or something, you're only getting like maybe $1. And it's the same for the big people too. Most artists' bread and butter comes from performing, brand deals, partnerships, like things of that nature. So she is going to have to get past her shyness to succeed at that.
Mm-hmm.
So professionally, he's doing a good job at separating the marriage and, you know, giving her artist training. That's what I'll say. I still don't like him, but he's doing the right thing with the music.
Yeah,
And
I feel like he
Christina,
is.
either you can sing or you not, or you can't. Like, what is the problem?
Yeah, I feel like he is guiding her in a way that is conducive to what she wants to do. And I feel like she's on the right track. And I agree. She needs to get over her stage fright of whatever that is. Because if this is something you really want to do, then you need to get past, the elements of what fears you and actually go ahead and do it. Because you have a lot of support. You have more support than most people trying to get into that industry. So I feel like you need to definitely be in a better place with that. And also decide if that's something you really want to do because a lot of people want to do things, but is it something you're supposed to be doing? And I'll leave that there. Christina also mentions bringing on Chelsea as her product manager, marketing manager, and Brandon is cool with it. But he also mentions that she has a podcast with Anthony later on, and that Chelsea has to be there, and those two do not get along. So do you think that Chelsea can be okay? And I hate that he asked that because Chelsea is not the problem, at least not at this point. Chelsea is not the problem. It's been Anthony feeling that he's above everyone and trying to make her feel like she's beneath him and she wasn't going for it. So, no, I disagree, Brandon. It's not Chelsea. It's definitely Anthony, at least not at this point. Just making that a point. Is there anything else you want to add to this, Mrs. Best, before I move on?
No, sir.
All right. So the next thing we have is Kobe and Russell. They're finally opening up the Anytime Fitness, whatever brand that he invested in that he owns his own franchise of. Yes, they finally are opening that. And Kobe surprisingly has a good attitude. She came, supported, made sure she was also working as well. And she was supporting Russell. She was smiling for once. So it was actually, a nice thing to see. Not Brandon, Russell is very happy with how everything turns out. All of his hard work is paying off. Everyone shows up, with the exception of Anthony. Anthony wasn't there, but everyone shows up. And Christina mentions that she also has a brand ambassador deals where she's getting 12 free staycations for this year. So she wanted to do the first one and include the cast of Love and Marriage Detroit. So everyone's pretty much on board, and she even invites Kimberly and Marcel Dolbein to the event, which was very big of her to do, considering where those two were. She really at this point, Christina is trying, and I have to give it to her. Christina is trying to get on a better foot with Kimberly, but you got to watch people like Kimberly. So let me go ahead and move on. So she pulls aside Dr. Minnie Mouse and Lakeitha. She pulls them up to the side, to say that with this staycation setup, she also wants this to be an opportunity to give Colby a little sprinkle event, which what they explained was a second baby shower for the second baby, since they're having the same gender girl. You don't give a baby shower for the second baby if it's the same gender. So they're going to give a little sprinkle event so they can support. And Dr. Minnie Mouse said that is very big of Christina to want to give Colby, this sprinkle event. And that's very sweet of her to use her, ambassadoring to share it with her. That is amazing. And you have to understand, Colby and Christina were very close at one point. And the show kind of drove a wedge between them. So, Christina is really trying. I have to give it to Christina. She really is trying to mend her friendship with a lot of these ladies. And this is what's gonna piss me off. So Kim Dobine bring her non-existent ass over to the table, and she's hearing this, and she's like, hearing Christina say that she wants to throw this event for Kobe really brings me back to our time when we were friends. I threw her baby shower many, many years ago, and she was 2 hours late. So it just gives me PTSD. Mrs. Best, do you want to go first?
You can. You go ahead.
Kimberly, once again, I'm trying to figure out what the fuck that got to do with Kobe and getting a second baby shower for Christina throwing it, and the operative being that she's trying to mend and be there for her friend. What the fuck that got to do with you? And why would that bring up PTSD of a baby shower that you threw for her all these goddamn years ago? Y'all, if y'all don't get Kimberly the fuck away from me, I promise y'all, I can't deal with her. She is too much. Because to me, like Dr. Minnie Mouse, you should have took that as, oh my gosh, she is growing. So I should feel better about us getting to a better place if this is what she's willing to do, versus you bringing us some shit that didn't happen that is irrelevant. Because you chose to have a friendship with her after the fact. So you obviously shouldn't have that much PTSD from it. And why would that give you PTSD? Oh, she is exhausting. Mrs. Best, your turn. I'm tapped out.
I pretty much feel the same. Um, why it's almost like she's looking for negativity. She's looking for something to hate on. Some people just thrive in negativity and look for a problem and thrive in drama. And I think that that is what Kimberly Dobine gives. You could tell that she was probably messy in college. She was probably messy in high school. She came on this show talking about how big and irrelevant her and her husband are to Detroit, but I ain't seen this man work in one scene. All I see is that lazy eye that most people get when they drink too much. Um, I don't. It's she seems like the type of person that because she's not happy in her own life, in her own relationship, she's gonna hate on other people in their situations. I'm not saying that her and Christina's beef. I'm not trying to negate Kim's feelings, but it was so many years ago and it was over the fact that you don't like that someone said you had an Android. Like, that's the most stupid thing to be upset about. So for her to even have this energy toward Christina is weird. It's giving that Kim is not that girl that she tries to make herself out to be. Because you say you threw a baby shower and she was 2 hours late. Then you tried to say you did all of these things for her in the previous season before they went on break. Like, she keeps saying all of these things that she's done. And I'm like, well, if you really are Miss Detroit, if you really do have all these friends, then how are you able to notice this one person showing up late and not even doing anything to attack you? I don't like the Dobines. I don't. Like, she has no reason to be mad. I'm over it. Colby, if Colby was acting like this, I'd accept it. Hell, even if Dr. Minnie Mouse was acting like this, I'd accept it because they have issues with her husband. But Kim has no reason to feel the way that she feels.
Mm-hmm.
It's annoying.
I agree. I agree 100%. It's annoying and it's not necessary. Because realistically, this moment wasn't even about you. It was about the simple fact that she's trying to be better and show up better because this is what y'all were complaining about. If nobody else remembers, Dr. Minnie Mouse, Colby, and Kimberly were complaining about Christina making situations all about her and being one of those friends that don't show up for all the rest of them. So they feel like she's just, you know, terrible. And now she's showing up where she's being supportive. She's wanting to make amends with her friends and be better. She's sharing one of her brand ambassador deals with y'all, which is getting a staycation, which I feel like this was the show, but whatever. We'll put it in Christina's lap. And I feel like y'all are asking for this. She giving it to you, and now it's not good enough because one want to mention she got PTSD, the other one giving her the side eye, thinking that there's some bullshit along the lines. And it's like, damn, y'all really gonna make me stick up for Christina this season? Really? Okay, I'm here for it because I like the rest of y'all. So I guess Christina gonna be the only one I like this season because so far she's done nothing. So far, she has done nothing. She has not shown up the same way she did season one. She's showing up actually sweet. So I'm like, Y'all can make me like Christina. I'm on Team Christina right now. Russell and Brandon talk on the side as well. And they, Brandon really commends him for being strong, creating his business, and really moving in the way a father and a husband, can move and compartmentalize and everything. And that's not really what Russell was doing, but it's nice from the outside looking in of what he sees, And Russell says, when Kobe was pregnant with the first baby, he was at her beck and call, and with this second baby, he just wants to make sure he has business avenues is all tied up and everything. And I do get that at some extent, and I try to see Kobe's side of it a little bit more, but I just feel like these two are really in that old mindset of traditional roles where, the man goes out and is the breadwinner, the woman stays home barefoot and pregnant. I really feel like they took that to the higher core. And I feel like Kobe didn't want that for her life, but ended up running into it. And that's why I tell y'all have to understand the dynamics that you don't want. Because if you don't understand them, you'll run right into them knowing that that's how you were brought up. So you have to tell the truth of what it is, and you have to express why this would not work for you. So that way you understand it and not attract it. Laws of attraction is real, y'all. It really is. Laws of attraction is real. And I think a lot of people don't want to associate it because it's more spiritually inclined than religious inclined, but it is still a thing. So I want y'all to understand that. Mrs. Best, is there anything else you want to add with Russell and Brandon's conversation?
Yes, I didn't add anything. I I just want both of these to stop talking to each other about their marriages. Um, with Russell, he's not doing much wrong. I do think one of the statements he made was very telling. In the first pregnancy, she was used to having him at beck and call. I personally think Colby's a spoiled brat. And I think for the first time, the kid, in some ways, I feel like she's jealous of her child and the attention because your man is providing for you. He's making it to where you don't have to work unless you want to. He is there for the baby when he is able to. He's not cheating. He's doing the things that she's asking and tries to communicate. So I definitely feel like she was spoiled, and now with the new child, that's less attention that will come her way. She's just really ungrateful. But at the same time, if you discuss something with your wife, like work, like he tries to say, and opening the gym, it seems like he keeps alluding that they had this dynamic to where he would step up and work more and she would be at home. And it seems like she may have went back on that. And I think that's where the disconnect is coming from. I know everybody wants to blame it on postpartum or she needs help with that baby, but he was the one that changed the diaper in the previous episode. He's the one that will talk to the kids. So I don't think they need to be on this show.
So you think the show is what's really driving the wedge between them?
I think it's the show and also the field of work that Colby is in. If you're doing something with social media, it takes you away from your partner. The more publicized your career, the less you're with your partner. If you're with an author and they're writing books constantly, then they're constantly away doing book tours, book signings, things like that. If you're with someone who's a music artist, they're always traveling and at shows. If you're with someone who does social media and branding, they're always having to pay attention to their phone. So though she's there, she's not like mentally always available to her husband and kids. So I don't think they need to be on the show. I think they're successful without it. I'm tired of her complaining. It's just not going to look good. So
I agree. I'm tired of her complaining about things that don't change. Because it seems like Russell hears you, but he doesn't feel it's an issue. So you continue to throw these tantrums. I kind of feel like you need to make a decision. Either this works or it doesn't. You need to probably pull up with Christina if you're really that unhappy. Just saying. So that's pretty much it on that scene. Um, Bravo is on the next scene. Him and Brandon meet up because he's showing them a different spot other than the lounge that he mentioned earlier. This, from what I understood, this wasn't the same place. So I said, damn, Bravo is really in his bag. Like he opening up a whole nother business. And this is what you use this show for, Bravo. I see you. And this is why I like him. Because he definitely recognizes a business. I think he's full of shit, and which we'll get to in a minute. But I feel like as far as the business entrepreneurship, this is the real business entrepreneurship man here. Him and Russell. because at least we get to see exactly what they're building, Anthony. So I'm, but he's telling, Brandon about the business. He has not shown Lakeitha this business yet. So he's excited to show her and really see the vision because she's kind of been, behind him through all the other businesses. So this is one that he really wants to, showcase for her because she doesn't know about this one yet. He also Bravo also tells Anthony that he's going to, I mean, not Anthony, Brandon, he's going to invite Anthony over as well. And Brandon cracks a joke. He said, "No, don't show Anthony because all Anthony going to do is say, bro, I had a spot just like this back in the day, and it used to be over there on such and such and everything." And they said Anthony is very braggadocious, which he is. He always likes to showcase what he has done, what he does for the community, what money he has, how much he's a businessman. And I haven't seen him back it up. The only thing I've seen him back up was this public speaking he does with the man movement. That's the only thing that I've seen from Anthony. Where's the other businesses? I digress. At the same time that they're talking about Anthony, they also talk about Marcel. And they're mentioning what happened at that dinner. And Brandon asked, "Do you feel like his apology was genuine?" And Bravo said, "Yeah, it seemed like it came out genuine. I don't know him. So, I mean, I can only take what he, gives me." And he's like, "No, I don't think it was genuine. I think he just said that just to appease you." And either way, it's still he got what he needed. So I don't understand, Brandon, why you being messy at this moment. But at the same time, Brandon is being messy. Anthony's being messy with Marcel. So we flip the scene where Anthony and Marcel are having a conversation. And Anthony flat out says that Bravo is going to continue to bring up this situation because he ain't over it yet. And you know what it is, Marcel? He intimidated by you. That's what it is, Marcel. He intimidated you. Just gassing this man's head up. And I said, "Anthony, he's what?" Bravo is intimidated by Marcel. How? Please expand on that, Anthony. Because even Marcel laughed at that. Because Marcel don't believe that either. Mrs. Best, I have to ask you because I have to pause for this. Do you think that Bravo is intimidated by Marcel?
No, no, hell no.
I said, Anthony,
We don't even know what Marcel does. We just like I don't understand. Anthony, and it's funny, Brandon was spot on. Anthony is that friend who every time you're like, "Yeah, I'm going through something." "Yeah, well, I get it too, because I just went through that." I genuinely hate when people do that. It's okay to let people have their moment instead of always having to follow it up with what you've done, where you've been, where you're going. It's like Anthony's annoying. The stuff that he expects from people that most of us would expect, he's not able to give in return. So it's just comical. He gossips like a girl. It drives me crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And Marcel's standpoint basically was, at the event, there were two women going back and forth. He didn't want to intervene or intercept, which is why he kind of stayed quiet. But he doesn't feel necessarily that he he needs to realistically be at the forefront of one giving an apology and in the middle of the women's beef. And I do agree with that. They also talk about in the instance that Brandon feels like, I mean, Anthony feels like Brandon and Bravo are the same. Like they like to play the victim. And I said, I don't see that from Bravo at all. I do see that from Brandon, however, that he does like to be a victim at times. I did see that a few times. So he may be right about that. But I feel like, but Anthony, the same could be said about you. The same could be said about you depending on the circumstance of which you bring, which we'll talk about at the end of this episode. But from Bravo and Brandon's conversation then turns over to they're talking about Lakeitha and how she is worried about Bravo being out because she had lost her father. And it's something that I guess this conversation continues to be brought up. And once again, I feel like there's more to this than what they're saying, because if Bravo has had these businesses all this time, why is Lakeitha just now like constantly having this, worrisome moments? Because he isn't stopping. He's building more businesses that's going to keep them out at night. So I'm trying to figure out what is going on. And Brandon's like, well, maybe you should do things that, kind of appease her. Like maybe share your location so she knows you're okay. Bravo said, I ain't sharing my location. She ain't finna get all that. But, I'm just. And I said, oh, okay. Bravo. Now I see what Lakeitha is worried about, because the fact that you said you wouldn't share your location, why? This is your wife. And if you are going to be at where the fuck you supposed to be at, then what the hell is the problem? Mrs. Vest alluded to this, that she feel like there was something going on there. And this is what proves it to be too. There's something going on. Because Bravo, that's not what you needed to say. What you needed to say was, yeah, maybe I'll send her a message, or maybe I'll send her something so she feels better, so she doesn't worry. But you worried about not sharing your location? You feel like your wife don't need to know that? Okay. Very interesting approach, Bravo. And Lakeitha, if you watching, you need to be looking at this and asking what the fuck you mean by that. I'm just saying. Because you may be covering up something. I don't know. I don't know if she's covering up something and using this daddy thing as an excuse. But the fact that he said that, it makes me side-eye him now. Mrs. Best, how did you feel about that?
As I said when we first met these people, you've been with him for some time. I was surprised to actually learn in the conversation that Brandon and Christina were married longer than Bravo and Lakeitha. That surprised me, because they got all them kids and this whole blended life. So that tells me they was probably together for a long time
before got married.
Any ring was put on the finger. And that's a red flag. Y'all can say what you want to say to make yourselves feel better about it, but ain't no way in hell I'm going to be on my second and third child with a motherfucker that won't put a ring on it. That's just me. Brandon, Bravo gives bad vibes in terms of that. I already sensed this, so I'm genuinely not surprised. But if your wife is in tears, having mental health issues and setbacks due to what you recognize, Bravo, and acknowledge as her childhood trauma relating to her father dying, right? You guys have sold this to us as it being something that she worries about for the sake of the kids. Then the first thing I would think he would have been done is to give her his location. My husband be worried about me because I work in the Tenderloin in San Francisco. Horrible neighborhood, Google it. Stuff be going down, things like that. So he asks for my location so that he can at least know where I'm at when something go down in case he got to get to me. If I need his location, he will send it. We don't have those kind of problems, but he will send it. I have a couple people's locations. If it just off of what Lakeitha has gone through and expressed on this show, I'm surprised he didn't already have her with his location. But I definitely think he's cheated. I definitely think he has done something that's not appropriate with women that come in the bar, maybe women that work at the bar, such as bottle girls. We have to think about that, things of that nature. I just don't think that she wants to talk about it on this show, which I can understand, but don't come on the show if you're not going to talk about it. But they bullshitting.
They are, because it was all in the context of what he was saying. I worry about me too. Some man talking about why this girl always in Bravo Club, and this. It was things that he was saying that kind of led to the context of infidelity. Like it was certain P's and Q's that I was picking up, but the first red flag that I saw was the fact that you say that your wife don't need to know your location, bruh. She literally is saying on TV she's worried about you and you not making it home. So the thing you say in rebuttal to that is she don't need to know where I'm at. So if something does happen, how is she supposed to know? There's nothing worse than having to identify your body, if that's the case. There's nothing worse, because she can't tell the detectives when they investigate your homicide, if that, God forbid that happens, where your location was, or what the last location she knows of, because she could say, oh, he was at this bar and grill. That's the last I know when I talked to him. Well, that's not where we found him. We found him at this location. It's like, dude, you're playing into her fear. And I feel like in ways that's probably a tactic to use to distract her while he go and do what the fuck he want to do.
Yes.
And that's fucked up. Like, to me, there is nothing worse than someone that you love playing with your trauma to then go out and do something that would hurt you even more.
I agree.
That is crazy work if that's really what's going on here. Mind you, he could be faithful. He could be doing all kinds of things. It's just that his behavior and the things that he say are suspect. So one can only imagine that him
Her
saying that.
behavior and the things that she says is suspect. I don't feel sorry for her.
I don't
Worth
either.
a damn. She's too grown. She's too big and grown to be doing that. You could just tell, like, I think she does have some trauma. I
Right.
don't think the trauma correlates to her being nervous every time her husband goes out. Because if that was the case, she would get off her ass and say, well, how about I go work so that you don't have to work this much or at these hours, so that, like, meet your spouse in the middle, meet him halfway. If
I will
that's
be
the
going
case,
with him. When I tell you,
if the kid's
mama,
asleep, I'm in the
auntie,
club
yeah,
with them.
mama,
Right.
auntie, cousin, I will meet you. If you, okay, well, let me make sure the kids, I'm going to be up there. And I will drive my ass right up to them clubs. One, to make sure that's really where the fuck he at. And then two, I'm going to work as well. There's no way I will be at home while he out. There's no way. And I
Clubs don't open till like 9 o'clock usually, especially the type of clubs that he has. So, and their kids are big enough to where they're probably in bed at that time, already
Mhm.
sleep or able to be home alone. If you don't work and you so scared about him not making it home for your to your babies, then why aren't you going with him?
Right.
Why aren't there constant, like, text, check-ins, calls, things of that nature?
No,
And
Lakeitha
he's a
crazy. I
handsome
would be.
guy. He's a handsome guy, so I am sure
Mm-hmm.
that he is mingling,
Yep.
and birds of a feather flock together. Look who his friend is.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm like, yeah, that turned me off. When he said that, I'm like, oh, okay, so you playing with Lakeitha trauma. And Lakeitha, I'm telling you, you better watch this because this does not, that's not something he should have said on camera. Even if that's how he felt. Because now as the viewers, we're putting two and two together. And we're like, oh, okay. Either he's playing with your trauma and he doing what the fuck you want to do, and he can please say, I was here this whole night. You ain't got to worry about that because men can do that. Men do that to distract you. Men do that, but the fact that he said he would share his location, that was the red flag for me. That's all I needed to see. You lost me, Bravo. You lost me. And I feel bad for Lakeitha, but then I don't because once again, I will be going with him to them clubs at night. This is our businesses, right? Because I'm sure her name is on some shit. So I'm going to work too. The babies are fine. Mama at the house. We good. Let me go ahead and go with you. But hey, that's Lakeitha's marriage, not mine. So I just saying it wouldn't work that way. Just saying. So we finally get to the last scene of this show. Christina, Brandon, and Chelsea, they go up to Brandon's podcast room in this warehouse-esque kind of building that they turned into some studios. And they're saying it's very cold up in there, and they hope Anthony got the heat on. So they get there, and Anthony does not greet Chelsea in any kind of way. He, focuses more so on Christina and Brandon. And they do the interview, and Christina gives, her background, and Anthony is throwing a lot of shade. So Anthony was all like, so how does it feel? You starting your career late in life, in your 40s and all this. And she goes, well, I'm proud of my age. I'm 42, actually. I'm proud of where I am in life. And he goes, well, you're a married woman, with two children and basically a third child because you over there with Brandon and everything. And I said, well, damn, is this supposed to be a professional podcast or is it supposed to be messy like me? Okay. Okay, Queen. I see you. So Anthony asked, what genre of music Christina's going to be singing. And she says that she has not publicly stated that. And he goes, you should do gospel. And as she, is saying, I still have not publicly confirmed, Chelsea yells out, and will not confirm. And I said, now, Chelsea. Now, normally I ride for Chelsea, y'all, because I like Chelsea. I do. But Chelsea, that was rude. That was rude as hell, regardless if you don't like this man or not. It's unprofessional of you to do that if you're going to be this lady's marketing manager. I get Anthony ain't shit. I totally get it. I totally get it, girl. But you can't play in that either. So Anthony, takes the slight. He doesn't really address her because he's not really paying her no mind. Um, so as the podcast, went well, it ends. Brandon, tells him, we would love to have another opportunity like this, with that. He goes, yeah, I'm definitely gonna book Christina again. And so Brandon said, yeah, you got to reach out to Chelsea because Chelsea is doing her marketing management. He goes, well, I guess I only need this interview then. And they're like, oh damn, not you, not trying to work with Chelsea. And so um Anthony pretty much does another dig at Brandon, and Brandon says, Brandon, Christina is, your biggest artist, that you have. And he's like, oh, wow, Anthony, really? You really trying to throw this light on national TV like this? Okay. Which I believe it, but hey, I don't know who Brandon works with. I don't. So I can't really say that, but I believe it. Chelsea interjects and she says, okay, it's really cold in here and I'm bored. And Christine's like, you bored, baby? No, it's okay, And Anthony's like, and she tells Anthony, you ain't got no heat up in here. And Anthony said, I'm sure there's heat up in the car. She can go wait in the car. And I said, Anthony, that's fucked up. And Chelsea gets up and she goes, you're not finna address me like that. You're not finna play with me and all this kind of stuff. And Anthony's like, can y'all escort her out the building, please? And she goes, no, they don't need to escort me. And so Anthony says, oh, I know how to get you up out of here. So Anthony dials 911 on his phone. And they said, are you really finna call the police? And he goes, you know what? Hey, she pushing me to no choice. And I said, oh, wow. Oh, wow. I don't have words. I don't have words. And like Mrs. Best said in the comments, so, Mrs. Best, this is your time to read Anthony for complete filth because I can't do it.
Why can't you do it?
Because I feel like I just don't have the energy and the bandwidth. I do, but I'm gonna let you go first.
You see my face, James? I don't even show my face like that. But I don't like this man. I don't like what he do. I don't like how he moves. I don't like his haircut is a cross between Bill Cosby, the PJs, George Jefferson, and Sanford and Son. And I feel like Anthony wants to be so cool, and he's just not. So now that I've said that, like my comment said, it's just bitch boy anti-Black behavior. As Black people and what we go through with law enforcement and really just other people outside of the Black community in the United States of America, I don't feel like we should be so quick to call the police on each other unless we are truly in a situation where we're in danger. And him threatening to call the police or whoever he was going to call to have her get off his property that obviously he couldn't afford to pay the heat bill for looked a little off. And then you keep that energy with a female. The police are going to laugh at you. How is Chelsea a danger to you? You just don't like her because she holds you accountable. And there's no husband. Right. And there's no husband that Anthony can go to and gaslight and be like, hey, you see how your lady doing me? You see how this is work? Like there's nobody that he could turn to, because I noticed he does that. Like Christina would make a point and then he would look at Brandon and be like, well, it's like this woman just fucking spoke to you. This is her brand manager. Now, granted, Christina should have known better than to bring Chelsea there. And Anthony did have a point when he brought up the guy that Brandon don't like not being there, regardless if dude is a producer or not. He removed him from the workspace knowing that y'all were coming. However, you know that Chelsea has worked with Christina, Anthony, because you were friends with this couple. So you know that Chelsea works with her even outside of the music thing. You know that Chelsea is close to her. You know that Chelsea is her day one. Why is it okay for you and your wife to go and trash talk them constantly and to go and make friends with their ops and enemies? But then you have such a problem with little old Chelsea. Little old Chelsea. And it's like, Chelsea ain't really done nothing to you. She just won't allow him to disrespect her. She could do a lot more. She could get in his face. She could knuck when he bucked. She could really do the most.
And it just seems like him and Dr. Minnie Mouse, based on what we see the preview for next week, are going to try and paint Chelsea off to be this mad, unprofessional ghetto black bitch. It seems like they're trying to do that. And I don't like when black people do this to each other, because regardless on what I go through, anybody I've beefed with or have an issue with who's black, I'm not going to humiliate anybody. My goal is not going to be to make somebody look crazy. And that's what Anthony tried to do. Also, bruh, in the words of my husband, you supposed to be a man. So you so scared of a bitch that you got to call the police for help?
I just feel like, why do you have to go that far?
He's
And
gross. What
you
does she
have
know
to,
about him?
yeah, it's one of two things. Either they didn't fuck before, or something happened in a power dynamic. Because to me, your energy towards her, even from the beginning at that restaurant, it gave like either they used to mess around, or he knows someone she used to mess around with that she probably broke. Like it gives like there's history somewhere. Because I
Yep.
can't imagine, based on a conversation at a wine event that you started, mind you, with her, that all of this vitriol that built up to now isn't just, from that event. It has to be from before that. I don't know what it is, but I just felt like it was very distasteful. I feel like even though Chelsea was wrong in the beginning, I feel like it doesn't warrant this reaction from you. And I don't understand why you just can't put your pride aside and be like, you know what, if she here, oh well, we'll just keep it professional.
As a man, it's not a good look. And then he talking about, I'll have them remove you. They was looking so confused, like, wait, what? The men, because they wasn't security. That
Right.
was just people working there. You could tell that Anthony wants to swing his dick around at Chelsea and remind her who's in charge. At the same time, I have to acknowledge that Chelsea is very vocal. That's me for my friends. I'm a question and call shit out, and I don't give a fuck how nobody feel
Right.
like about it. Like, that's me as a friend. I'm gonna do that. That's why people careful to invite me to certain places. However, Chelsea, off the strength with your friend knowing she filming this show, behave. You didn't have to get up and say that you were bored. Why are you there if you are bored? I also didn't understand her purpose to be there during the podcast. Your husband should be all the backup that you need, Christina. And if your husband is not the backup that you need, then you need to address your motherfucking marriage, bitch, and figure that out. I don't need James and my husband somewhere with someone because I don't trust how they move. Because that's what Christina was kind of alluding to when coming into the podcast. So I feel like on both sides, both people could have done better. I don't think Chelsea should have been there. However, she didn't do nothing in this episode to warrant him damn near calling the police, getting viscerally upset in his hoodie. He was getting mad. He couldn't even sit still. And I don't know. It's a weird thing. I feel like Anthony is a hater of successful black women specifically. And I think that that could probably be traced back to something that happened in his upbringing or within his own family, separate from Dr. Minnie Mouse. But he was unusually bothered. And that's a dangerous person. Like, he's way too emotional to be acting like this. And you got the Bill Cosby haircut from back in the day, Anthony. Like, and you married to a doctor. You should be a little calmer and representing yourself better on this show, because it's given he's a girl's girl. I don't get it.
I don't get it either, y'all. It was terrible. It was a terrible episode. I can't wait to see what happens next. But y'all, that was pretty much it. That's all I'm gonna talk about, because that was a lot. But yeah, I still don't like anybody on this cast. The only person I'm warming up to is Christina. I want to like Bravo, but I feel like he's full of shit.
I like Christina. I don't mind Christina. I think Christina's problem is how she throws rocks and hides her hand. Perfect example is this last scene of this episode. You knew for a fact that bringing Chelsea anywhere near Anthony, you knew that Chelsea wasn't going to be quiet and he wasn't going to be quiet. You know, she knew that this would happen, and then she tries to act innocent. Your brand manager don't come with you to every fucking interview also. So,
I agree.
Show.
It's just terrible. It just really is. It's just a terrible show, but I have to keep it because I don't have nothing else. So,
Carlos, stop showing black dysfunction. Show black marriages that are actually thriving.
Right, because they're out there. Exist. They out there, and I know that this was not the top pick of the litter.
Absolutely not.
I know this wasn't. So, but you know, we're gonna keep it on. As I said, I like Christina. I don't know that much about Lakeitha other than this trauma, so I'm hoping they show more of her
She can
dynamic.
go. We could keep her husband, but she could go.
And
All
I
she
know
did
y'all
was
like
sit at
James. We
home.
skipped the scene with the dough binds. That was intentional. I want to put that out there. That was intentional. I don't give a fuck about them shopping for no lingerie, and I think Kim is bullshit.
I would like to say about the dough binds, I do think that her husband drinks a lot. You could tell that he doesn't just keep the bottle close. When he wakes up above his nightstand, on his bed right next to him, the headboard and all is probably a bottle of some form of dark liquor. And you could tell that their money may not be all the way where it is because he was drinking regular Hennessy. Homeboy couldn't even afford the privilege team. So that is all I have to say.
I don't really care. I think they're a waste on the show. I just do. I don't think that they bring anything. I think that all of this trauma from a decade ago that Kimberly wants to bring up in today's time is so irrelevant because it's stupid.
Her dude is shady.
He is shady.
I think he got shady stuff going on because he's never at work.
Or maybe he can't. Maybe he just can't film at his location. I don't know. I don't really care. I just don't buy what they're selling. I just don't. So, but yeah, I'm not gonna talk about them shopping for lingerie because that's stupid. You're supposed to surprise him with some lingerie, not
right. You don't go shopping for the lingerie with them.
Yeah, that's so stupid. So that's the reason why I didn't bring that up because that's even stupid. But anyways, y'all, that was it. We're gonna go over to Mrs. Best channel to do the Never Ever Mess, which was a hot ass mess, and I can't wait to see how she gets this going. But I will see you guys on my next recap, which will be Real Housewives of Atlanta tomorrow. So thank you guys for being here. I will see you guys on my next recap. Bye bye now.